Barking Up the Wrong Tree by Jacinta Farragher. Nacho was a tiny dog with a big attitude. Wherever he went, he would snap and bark at other dogs, and at humans too. None of the dogs in the park were safe from his outbursts. He would bark and growl ferociously at any dog that came too close. Whenever children wanted to pat him, Nacho would show them his sharp teeth and give a low growl until they backed off. The poor postman had actually received a nip on the ankles a couple of times. And the ducks in the duck pond never knew when the little dog's sudden barking would send them flying into the air in fright. All this barking and snarling, of course, was to make sure he was respected in the neighbourhood. Just because he was small, he wouldn't let anyone think he was weak or a coward. But his body always betrayed him. Every time he got worked up and barked at anyone, Nacho would start to shiver and quake immediately afterwards. The trembling certainly didn't help him make him look tough or brave, but he just couldn't control it, and it was often 10 minutes or more after each time before he was able to calm down and stop shaking. Nacho wished he was big like Samson the Great Dane on his street. He started eating sausages and gravy every day. But all that did was give him a slight bulge in his tummy. He didn't really get any bigger. He wanted to be strong, like Butch the bulldog down the road, so he started weight training. He did get a little stronger, but it wasn't enough. Nacho wished he was tall, like Eleanor the Afghan hound from across the park, so he learnt to walk on stilts. But that wasn't practical for everyday running and playing. And he wasn't actually taller. He just looked like a dog on stilts. Maybe he could learn a special skill, like Sandy the Labrador, who helped guide blind people in and out of shops and across town. Or Minty the Beagle, who had a great job sniffing suitcases at the airport. Or even Tina the Border Collie, who helped herd sheep over at Walking Wool Farm. Fritz the German Shepherd even had an official job with the police force, chasing down and catching criminals. But Nacho didn't think he could do something like that. He would really love to have a job so he could feel special and important like so many of the dogs he admired. But what kind of job could such a little dog do? Nacho decided to learn to juggle so he could join the circus. He practiced for hours, but when he got to the circus, they already had a Jack Russell who danced and jumped through hoops of fire, and they had no room for a juggling chihuahua. After that, he almost got a job flushing rabbits out of their burrows, but in the end, the farmer decided to go with a ferret instead. Then, one day, Nacho saw an ad from the pet talent agency Lights, Camera, Pause. Starring roles in television and advertisements, it said, and auditions this Tuesday in the big city. On Tuesday morning, Nacho got up early. He brushed his hair until it shone, carefully buffed his toenails, and wiggled into his best coat. Then took a train into the big city. "Okay, let's go through some different looks," said the agent at the audition. "Show us cute." Nacho cocked his head a little to one side. He opened his big brown eyes wide and batted his eyelashes. Snap, 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 went the photographer's camera. "That's perfect," said the agent. "Now, show us playful." Nacho crouched low to the ground, then leapt up with a little yelp. He stood up on his hind legs and danced around in circles, like he had seen the little Jack Russell in the circus do. Snap, 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 went the photographer's camera. "Very nice," said the agent. "Now, show us proud." Nacho stopped dancing and stood serenely back on all four legs. He stood tall and puffed his chest out. He straightened his ears to sharp points and gazed majestically into the distance. Snap, 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 went the photographer's camera. Lovely, said the agent. Now, show us fierce. Nacho began to bark and growl. He pulled his lips back to show his sharp teeth. Yep, 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 he snarled. Snap, 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 went the photographer's camera. But, like always, no sooner had Nacho started barking than he also started shivering and quivering all over. The staff at Lights Camera Pause said, "Thanks, but no thanks." They couldn't have their actors shaking and quaking right when they were meant to be looking tough. Nacho was devastated. He had really hoped that audition would be the way he finally found something purposeful to do. He started back towards the train station, his head hanging low and his feet dragging, when out of the corner of his eye, he caught sight of another little dog trotting along beside him. Startled, Nacho jumped back in fright and spun to face the other dog, already growling and barking at the little thing. At the exact same time, the other dog also spun towards Nacho, growling and barking ferociously at him. Grrr, yap, 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 snarled Nacho. And in a mirror image, the other little dog did the same thing. Its sharp teeth drawn back, spittle flying out from its mouth, and his big brown eyes wild with what looked like fear? Nacho abruptly stopped his attack, and, like always, his overexcited body began to shiver violently. And so did the other dogs. That's when Nacho realised he was looking at his own reflection in the window of a shiny skyscraper. He had startled himself, barked at himself, saw the look of fear in his own eyes, and now he was watching himself shiver uncontrollably in the mirrored window. Nacho had a lot of thinking to do. Now he knew exactly what he looked like to other dogs when he attacked them, and he didn't like it. He also knew what he looked like afterwards, shaking and quivering, and he didn't like that either. He understood why the talent agency hadn't wanted to hire him. From that day onwards, Nacho decided to try his very best to be sweet, kind, and social. After all, none of the other dogs he admired ever barked at anyone. Well, except for Fritz, but that was his job. Samson and Butch were always very calm and got along with the other dogs at the park brilliantly. Eleanor and Sandy were wonderful with humans, often being complimented and receiving pats and praise everywhere they went. Every day, Nacho visited the park to practice his social skills. He made a big effort to stop himself from growling or snapping at children, and after a while, he found he actually enjoyed their cuddles and attention. He stopped growling and barking at other dogs too, and to his amazement, they stopped barking at him as well. They were just as friendly towards him as they were towards Samson and Butch, when he gave them a chance to be. Nacho even stopped harassing the postman. Instead of chasing and yapping at him, he would stretch out on the grass and watch him deliver letters along the street while enjoying the feel of the warm sun on his back. As time passed, the friendlier and more relaxed Nacho became, the less likely he was to have one of his uncontrollable shaking sessions. Then, after several weeks of him trying his very best to be calm and friendly and to get along with everyone, something wonderful happened. He was sitting by the pond watching the ducks glide through the water when a woman in a white dress with a crisp white hat came and sat beside him. "Hello, little dog," she said. "I've been watching you, and you have exactly the sweet, calm personality we need. Would you consider coming to work for us?" Nacho was delighted. He followed the woman to the retirement village next to the park, where she explained that his duties would be to spend time with the residents there, accepting pats, sitting on laps, or simply lying quietly and keeping them company. He began right away and was instantly loved by the elderly residents and the nurses. At long last, Nacho's size and strength didn't matter one bit, and he felt valued and useful. To this day, Nacho works as a companion dog at the retirement village, and it suits him right down to his carefully buffed toenails.